Yeah, my name is Adrian Fortuna. I'm the founder of PentestTools.com. And we believe that we are building the first online framework for penetration testing and security assessment. So what are we going to talk about today? We have a short introduction. I'll give you a short platform overview. Then we will talk about the categories of users that we have, the tools and the features, how we expect to develop this project in the future, and we will do some demos, and we'll see how that works. And at the end, you will have some vouchers that you can use to test also yourself the platform. So a few words about me. I'm an ex-full-time penetration tester. I still do pen testing, but part-time, let's say. I have more than 10 years of experience in IT security and penetration testing and ethical hacking. I was a programmer at my first job, and I do like that. I still do some teaching at Polytechnical University of Bucharest and the Military Technical Academy. And I also did some talks at some security events and conferences, some outside Romania. Why am I doing this talk? First of all, just to make it clear, I'm not trying to sell you this service to you. Because I believe of myself that I'm a pretty bad salesperson. Secondly, because DefCamp is one of the best technical security conferences, and I really do not like sales pitches on technical conferences. So I respect DefCamp. But I want to present you the technical capabilities of PentestTools.com. And as I said, do some demos, and my purpose here, besides showing to the platform, is to gather feedback from you regarding this service and what are we trying to do here. Because we are still in the full development phase, and we really need the feedback from our users. So about PentestTools.com. It was a personal project developed by myself while I was a full-time employee, and it first came to light exactly online in 2013. And this is the evolution that we had. This is a graph from Google Analytics. And last month, for instance, we had about 120,000 unique visitors. And in the last 12 months, we had 1.3 million users, unique visitors on our platform. So we believe we have a pretty good traction. And we want to help our customers to test the security of their systems easier, faster, and more effective. Now, let's see the tools that we have implemented in our platform. They are split into 4 categories, and these categories are mapped to the phases of a penetration test. So the first phase would be information gathering, and in this phase we have tools such as Google hacking, you will see. Find subdomains, it finds, as it says, subdomains of a target domain. Find virtual hosts. For this one you can give it an IP address, and it has multiple techniques to identify DNS names that point to that IP address. Then website recon, it's a fingerprinting tool based on Wapalizer, but we have greatly improved it. And you'll see what it does. Basically, you can give it a range of IP addresses, and on that range of IP addresses, it connects to the web ports of each IP and tells you the technologies that you have there. So you can do web surface discovery of your target IP range. You can see what web apps you have there. Metadata extractor, it's a tool that takes a website and downloads the documents, PDFs, doc, PowerPoint and so on from that website, and extracts, it gives you a list of metadata that you have on those documents. And subdomain takeover, it's a new tool that we have recently introduced in this information gathering phase. The next step would be, after we have gathered the information, would be to find vulnerabilities on those systems that are in our target. And for that, we can use tools, for instance, from the web application testing category, such as the web server scanner, the WordPress scanner, which is based on VP Scan. It's a licensed version. Drupal scanner, Joomla, SharePoint, and we have a web server scanner also generic. These are tools that are actually implemented. What you see in progress is what we are working right now. We want to introduce scans at the level of the web application to test for WASP top 10 issues and integrate with ZAP and some others. For the infrastructure testing, you can test, for instance, firewall rules using the port scanners, TCP, UDP. We have scanners for well-known vulnerabilities such as Heartbleed, Poodle, and so on. And we are working also on integrating OpenVAS into our platform. And for instance, we have found the vulnerabilities. Now the discussion is how to exploit them. And in the exploitation phase, we do not have tools that perform actual attacks, but we have tools, and we have also in plan to implement more, which would help you to create proof of concepts to demonstrate the vulnerabilities to your clients or to your boss. And you will see such a tools right now, HTTP request logger. We will talk about that a little bit later. Now, which are the users that come to our platform? They are split in two parts. The ones who do offensive security, I put them in red, and the others who do defensive security, it's in blue. Mainly pentesters, bounty hunters, security consultants and auditors, and the others are system administrators, network administrators, web developers, and so on. And I tried to put here the tools that are mainly specific to each category. So the offensive security would rather use this type of tools, which go into the discovery phase mainly. The URL fuzzer, find subdomains, website recon, subdomain takeover, and so on. And the others can be used by both parties. We also have some features like scan scheduling. You can schedule periodic scans and you receive the report on email, reporting, and some API. What is our vision for this project and what we want to achieve? We want to become an indispensable component in the arsenal of worldwide penetration testers and security specialists. We believe that the tools that we have right now are not enough for that, but we are planning to implement some really nice features, such as to aggregate the results of all the scans into a single dashboard, or to chain multiple tools in order to run them as a single scan. Automatically generate pentest reports, editable format, and so on. I forgot to ask you at the beginning of the presentation. So can you raise your hand, please? Which one of you has used pentesttools.com before today? Okay, a few of you, thank you. The ones who did, we really want to talk to you, and we want to ask you for your feedback regarding the platform. Now, enough with the presentation part. Let's see how it works. So the purpose of this demo is to perform a quick web application penetration test using the tools from pentesttools.com. And please, if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt. What are we going to do exactly? So we are going to follow the Pentest phases: information gathering, vulnerability discovery, and exploitation. These are the tools which are going to walk through, and this is the question: are the tools intrusive or not? So if they require authorization or not. And we believe that those from the information gathering phase do not require authorization, and the others we will do them on some demo environment. Now, we would like to do the information gathering phase on some live targets. So please give me some names. Now, I would like to stay away from the big guys, I don't know, Google, Facebook, Yahoo, because it. Sorry? Okay, that would be good. Some other? Sorry? .pl? Okay. I don't know what it is, but we can do it. And one more? Oh, come on. No, because I recently pen tested that and it's full. It's no, it's okay. It's good. Some other? Pretty big. It would take us a lot of time. Let's put it here, but. Okay, let's start with the first one. It's pretty juicy. So, as I said, we will follow these phases, okay? And the first tool that we can use, so our purpose right now is to discover the attack surface of this environment. So for hotnews.ro, let's see what Google has indexed about this. We will use the first tool here, Google Hacking, and let's say if it has directory listing. Okay, it looks like it does. I didn't expect that. So it looks like there are some subdomains from hotnews which have directory listing enabled. For those of you who do not know, directory listing is okay, hotnews got us to MetLife for some reason. Let's try the other one. Okay, this is a smart woman. Okay. I don't want to click on that now. Okay. It looks like MedLife has a subdomain here, and yeah, okay. So there are some directory listing issues here. So we are talking about subdomains of hotnews.ro right now, okay? This is the first issue. Then let's see if there are some configuration files exposed and indexed by Google. It's a sitemap, it's nothing interesting. Also sitemap. You can also put here minus sitemap if you want. But it still gives you the sitemap. Okay, these are some XML, so I don't think it's really interesting there. Okay, an a.txt, this could be nice. I don't know what this is. It's still from the smart woman. So it should be smart. Okay. Let's go to the next. If they have some database file exposed, I don't think so. So all of these tests are just searching in Google what Google has indexed about them. Backup and old files. This one is juicy, but it's not. Login pages. We can see some subdomains which have login pages. These can be used as for brute force and other authentication attacks. Publicly exposed documents. So these are PDFs. Let's exclude the PDFs and see if some other documents are there. We have this. It's quite researching, which we could see who did this. But let me see, how do I get the full URL? This one. Copy the address. This is the address. And I said that we have a nice tool here called metadata extractor. And let's see if it finds anything interesting. For some reason, I don't think it managed to extract the metadata from here, but anyway, this metadata extractor is useful for finding usernames, I don't know, email addresses stored into documents. Okay, and we were in the Google hacking phase. Let's close this. And I wanted another. No, this is not PHP info. Okay, so this is public information stored by Google on this website. Now, the next step would be to find which subdomains exist for Google.io, for hot news. And our tool has implemented a lot of methods, such as DNS zone transfer, DNS enumeration. We search in Bing, in Google with an API. We extract subdomains from HTML links, SSL certificates, and so on. Okay, so you can see the progress with each testing method. DNS enumeration, what it does basically, it has a word list of common names, and it queries if a DNS entry exists for that subdomain. From SSL certificates, it's a nice one. For instance, for the 42 subdomains discovered until this phase, what it does, it connects to port 443 for each IP address, and gets the SSL certificate and looks inside to see, to extract common names and subject alternate names that are associated with that host, and we can easily find some subdomains there. Now, in the HTML links, what it does, also for the previous subdomains, it does GET request to each subdomain, and parses the HTML file and looks for links to other subdomains of that domain. Okay, and smart DNS search, this is a really nice one. For the 49 subdomains discovered until now, for instance, let's say we have found, as it was previously, smartwoman.hotnews.ro. What smart DNS search does, it searches for smart woman 1, smart woman 2, smart woman 3, dev minus smart woman test, test minus smart woman, and such combinations of host names, which usually take us to hosts which are less protected than the main ones, which expect to be more secure. So we have found 62 subdomains of this domain. We can look, so we have a dev, which should be nice, but it doesn't have some web ports open. We have a mobile, blog 3, Comanescu. What is that? Okay. Is this a startup of hackers? Oh, it has redirected to Comanescu. Okay. Test blog. That's a nice one. This one was really discovered with the smart DNS search, because as a seed we had blog, and we tested for test blog, and it had found this. And the really nice thing about this is that they are all hosted on the same IP address. You see? And it is enough for an attacker to break one of them in order to get access to all of them. Okay, so let's look at one of those. Let's see test blog. I really like when I find test websites, because they are easy to hack. But we won't do that, so we are just doing the discovery phase. Okay, so for each subdomain, now you can. I told you that this is a penetration testing framework, so that's why the tools can talk to each other. So the results from this tool, you can use the scan with button and send them to another tool to continue the testing. So I will be interested here to do a website recon to see what technologies are there. What this does, it loads the web page into a headless browser, and it uses Wappalizer to extract the technologies from there. And we saw that we found that there is an Apache with the version PHP and CentOS, the operating system. Before going further to the application phase, I want to show you also another interesting functionality of website recon. For instance, you can do website recon on IP address, and more you can do on an IP range. So what it does, for instance, you need to do a Pentest, and the client tells you that it has a range of IP addresses that you want to test, and you want to estimate your effort. What you can do, you can use this tool in order to quickly map the attack surface of that client, and based on what you find, the technologies and what is there, you can estimate your effort for that pentest. Okay, so what it does, it connects to each IP address, it finds the virtual host names associated with the IP address, and for each web port, it connects and tries to find what is the web server, what are the technologies, and so on. And these you can further scan with the other tools. And you can also save this report and present it to your management or your clients. Now, going back to this test blog website, the last non-intrusive action that we will do a quick web server scan. This is another passive and non-intrusive scan. And let's see if we find anything interesting. So you can have multiple tools running in parallel here. Ouch. It's pretty red. The PHP version looks like it's very old, and it has found also some exploits on the server-side software. These exploits, we searched them against the exploit-DB database based on the version of the target software, and so on. And for each vulnerability, we also give a description of the risk and recommendation. Okay, so right now, going back to our pen testing phases, we kind of reached this area. We did also a quick web scan and saw some vulnerabilities. Now we can pass to more aggressive scanning. Let's see if the rec one returned anything interesting here. Okay, let's suppose that in the web surface that you have for your target, you have a WordPress website. Okay, and what do you do to find vulnerabilities in it and how to present them to your client? You can use one of our tools here. It's the WordPress scanner, which actually is based on WP Scan. It's a licensed version. And we will test that against a test server. So this is a test server that we have implemented, and we will test this one with the WordPress scanner. This is just the standard output of WP Scan, but the thing is that you don't have to install it yourself, you don't have to use any of your machines or computing power to run it. And what did it found? Some README file, backup of the wconfig file, some upload. And for the plugins, it did a passive detection. And in the passive detection, it has found 2 plugins. And let's look at the first one. It says the version is out of date. This is the current version. And this version has multiple vulnerabilities. The tool gives us references. And let's see what type of vulnerabilities are there. So we go to the advisory document. Let's see the date. So it's this year, in May, actually. And there is file disclosure, cross-site scripting, and some more cross-site scripting. And let's suppose that we want to test one of them. We take this. And we will work offline. So this should be the URL. The full URL is b. Okay. I will use a different browser for that. So this is the target website. We open a new tab, and we got a 0. Why is that? It's because this target requires the user to be authenticated in his account. And let's log in. It also makes sense from the exploitation perspective. This is the dashboard, we don't care about that. Let's run again the exploit proof of concept. Okay, and the pop-up came up. So this can be used against a user who is authenticated in his WordPress account. Okay? And right now, if you go with this vulnerability to your clients and with this type of proof of concept, they really won't believe that this is a true vulnerability. The first question that you will get, what can I do with this? How this pop-up box can impact me? And what can you do with that? You can try to create a real proof of concept, a real life proof of concept. And how do cross-site scripting vulnerabilities usually get exploited? The scenario is that the attacker sends the victim a URL, and in the URL it has a piece of JavaScript code which executes in the context of the victim's browser. And in our case, the victim needs to be authenticated into his WordPress account, and if he is authenticated, then our piece of JavaScript from there can extract some data from the browser, for instance, can extract the cookies, and send them back to the attacker. Okay? This is the typical scenario. And how do we implement this in real life? I mean, you go to your client and you say, okay, send this URL to your sysadmin who is in a different company, in a different building, so it's not in the same network, and let's do this over the internet. You will need that the sysadmin is authenticated in his account to receive the link, to click on there, and then the piece of JavaScript to gather the data and send it somewhere back to you. And where can you receive the data? This cookie, for instance. How can you actually exploit this, implement it? You need a server, right? You need a web server to receive the cookies from the victim. And in order to have the server, you can instantiate some cloud server with an Apache there. You can do that. But there is the issue that you need, if the target website goes over HTTPS, that won't make a request to a plain HTTP server. So you also need on your server to have a SSL certificate, and more of that, a trusted SSL certificate. So this implies some costs and some time for you as a pen tester. But we have a tool that can help you with that. It's called, in this exploitation part, is an HTTP request logger. And what it does, it actually, we can press on create HTTP handler, and it creates unique URLs that you can send to your victims. And when the victim clicks on that URL, they will make a request to our platform, and we will log it here, and you will see the request, where it came from, and which data. And now going back to our exploit. So what should we do to actually steal the cookies? So instead of alert 1 here, we can put new image dot source equals, and as a source we will put this handler here. Okay? And if this works, then the browser should make a request to our server. We execute it in the victim's browser, who is already authenticated. We will follow the networking tab to see the requests, and go. Okay, it's just the first request, and on the console we see an illegal character syntax error. Why is this? We go to the view source, and look how our input data was reflected into the response page. But the thing is that these double quotes have been escaped, and this interferes with the JavaScript syntax. And we receive a syntax error. And I would like an answer from the room. How can we bypass this? Encode how exactly? So the thing is that we want to get rid of this double quote or single quote. We can use what JavaScript has string from char code. So we can transform each character from the string, pentesttools.com and so on, into an ASCII code, and then use the JavaScript function from char code to transform it into a string back again. And how can we do that easily? There is an online resource. It's not on pentesttools.com, which can help us with that. So what it does, so we want this string to be converted into ASCII characters, ASCII codes. Okay, we copy that, and we go back to our exploit URL. So instead of this string, we put string from char code, and here we will put all these numbers. Okay, looks good. And right now, if we send the victim again this URL, we do start. So this is the first request, and this is the second request made by the JavaScript code to pentesttools.com. Okay? And let's see what we can see on our platform then. If we refresh this page, we can see that this handler has received one request. Okay? And if we go to see who has did what, we can see that today at 3:41, meaning that I have passed my time for the presentation, I have received a request from this source IP address with source user agent and so on, and you can also see the full headers. And the trick was, I forgot about that, to actually steal the cookies. And in order to steal the cookies, we have to actually append document.cookie to the URL, just to make sure that it works. Also the question mark here. give the victim again the URL with the code to steal the cookie. Okay, it looks like it has made the request with the cookies in the URL, in the parameter. And going back to the handler, we have two requests here. And here it is. These are the cookies from the WordPress website, and this is the session cookie. And the attacker could use this session cookie to authenticate to the user's WordPress website login panel. Okay, this was the demo. And right now, if you want to use the full capabilities of the platform, you can use this voucher code, DefCamp 2017. Go to the register page, use that, and you will get 300 free credits. And with those credits, you can use them to test the platform. And we would really like to hear feedback from you. And we also have a stand in the Hacking Village room. And please come by and talk to us.